Hi, I'm Rainer and welcome to my training room. So in the last video, I was showing how I installed the backdrop along this side, and I was doing some work in this corner in the back here. And I've put my sawmill back in place temporarily. I haven't plugged the lights back in, but I've just set it in place. But there's a lot of other junk piled in this corner. And that's because I have cleared out this area of my layout completely. Now this used to be my daughter's bedroom, and this was the closet. So the track runs through there and then goes across in above my desk and over the duck under in front of the doorway over there. But this corner, currently it's just blue walls and then an opening in the wall over there. So I'm going to switch over to this other camera right here and show you what I'm planning on doing back here. So first of all, I still have one more piece of backdrop. It's actually the same photo that I used behind my town on the other side. So I'm going to use that on that back wall here and do some other work, possibly some mirrors over on that side to kind of extend the scene. And then on this side, what I'm thinking of doing is creating a small hill with a tunnel opening so that this rear track, this is the rear track that leads up to the north end of my layout. So it comes out of the tunnel opening, and then this one I'm going to disguise the opening with some trees and possibly some buildings. Right here, there's going to be a small pond or lake. There's a depression in the scenery base ready for that. So it's going to be like a little small lake scene right here. And back in that corner, I have I'm thinking at this point, I have this little church that I bought. I got it for really, really cheap, maybe $1 at a train show. So I'm going to try to rebuild it. It's a little church kit that looks like it was built and disassembled. So I'm going to try to make that work for that corner. But at this point, what I want to do is try to put the backdrop in here and then create the little hill in here. And this whole area is going to be kind of a small northern kind of a village town scene with some houses and some shops and things like that. So that's the idea here. But first thing I'm going to do is start creating kind of the background. My whole idea here is that I want to, for most of my layout, create a kind of a basic scenery level everywhere. And I've been kind of working my way up, doing a little bit in one area, a little bit in another area. And so this area, I want to get it to kind of the same level as I have the rest of the upper deck. And then I can work in and work on some of the finer details, or that's the plan anyway. So I'm just going to start working on this. I'll get the backdrop up and then start doing some of the other work in here, and let's see how this goes. So this is where I got it to so far. Made a few changes along the way. I originally planned to just put the backdrop across the back and put some mirror tiles over here. Realized once I got the mirror tiles up there, it didn't really work that way. So then I took the piece that I cut off the original background and the backdrop and glued it onto the side, which only reached to here. And then I got a reverse image of from there going backwards, printed on another piece. But because I got it printed a week later, different people doing the printing, the color matching didn't end up being exactly the same. They put a lot more blue into it. The sky's a lot more blue. The trees are more of a bluish green. So there is a definite line where you can see the seam a lot more than I could on the other wall. But that's okay. The reason it didn't work is in that corner, I did kind of the same thing with the mirror tiles, but here the ground, if you want to call it, doesn't go uphill as far as it does in the far corner, because this outside track, by the time it gets over there, is a couple inches higher. So what happens is that it steps up higher, and then the trees in the background, the tops of the trees are actually slightly above my eye level on that side. On this side, they're not. So I can kind of see the reflection in the mirror a little too much. Not only that, I'm putting in a building like this church. The problem is the steeple of the church, the cross and everything shows as a reflection in the mirror. So as a result, it's very obvious the illusion doesn't work at all. Over on that side, it works pretty well. On this side, you can just see too much of it, and it's too obvious that it's a reflection. So I ended up having to go with the backdrop down the side wall. On this side, I created a little bit of a corner of a mountain with some tunnel openings. This is a pre-made cast tunnel opening. This one I made as more rough, actually carved out a piece of foam and then painted with acrylics. I know that the Algoma Central Railway doesn't have tunnels, but the Algoma Central Railway also doesn't go through a wall and into a closet. So that's okay. It's not prototype. I like tunnels, so I made some tunnel openings. These both lead in over to the duck under on the other side, go above my desk. So they had to go through the wall somehow, so I thought I'd make them a little bit more scenic by doing that. This area right here is eventually going to have a small pond in here. I haven't done the pour yet because I'm not ready for that, but that's going in here. And then I did put some mirror tiles on here because over here, you're not going to, from this viewing angle, you're not going to really be looking at that side a whole lot. You're basically going to be looking at it in this way, and that's just kind of a peripheral view so you don't see a blue wall. At this point, there's a lot more scenery work to be done. This is going to be eventually my kind of a small village area all the way from here all the way to the back. I have the backdrop in place, worked out pretty well, despite the kind of having to do the redos, pulling the mirror tiles off and doing the other thing on the side. So just remember, mirrors work sometimes, sometimes they don't. It all depends on what you're putting on this side of the mirror. Can you see too much of it to sell the illusion or not? On that side, it works well. This side, it doesn't, because the buildings are different and the slope of the land leading up to the mirrors is different. So I could just see too much in the mirror that reminded me that it was a reflection. So I had to change plans partway through. That's okay. These trees that are in here right now are just, I look at them as placeholders. There's going to be a whole pile of other stuff going in here, road and yards and buildings and things like that. So I just put the trees in here so I have something in front of the backdrop. And I've put in some static grass up on top of the hill as well as down here. I also did a lot of ballasting around the whole layout. While I was waiting for things to dry here, I did a lot of ballasting around the layout. Did some more grass and weeds kind of thing in front of the other backdrop on the other side to try to blend it in with the layout. And in the deck below here, which is going to be my steel mill scene, I have also put in a whole 12 feet of backdrop, wraps along the 8 feet of wall this way, 3 feet this way, and a foot this way. And that is actually a shot I took of Algoma steel when I was visiting my daughter up in Sault Ste. Marie. I took it with a drone when I was flying above her house. Did some major cropping and then sharpening with Topaz AI to make it a presentable image, and I used that for a backdrop for my steel mill scene that's going to be built sometime in the future. But I thought I would get that up while I was doing backdrops, because it ended up being 3 sections. So I got it printed at the same time that I did this part right here and picked it up. And so I thought I'd put it up rather than having the roll of backdrops floating around the room and getting damaged. This side, the backdrop was a success, but not quite the same success that not initially the same success that I had over there. That side, it just worked. This side, I had to work at it a little bit more. Got it to work. There is a bit of a color mismatch between these two pieces, but that's okay. I can live with it. If it really bothers me down the road, I suppose I could change the backdrop, but I think I'll live with it. It's okay. It gives me something to look at the back, and it does work better than the mirror tiles that I tried to put on the other side. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it gives you a bit more ideas of what you can do with backdrops. And now we'll go to a quick view of showing you what I did with that little church, how I rescued that. And as always, thank you for watching. See you next time. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. This is a little Plasticville, USA church kit that I bought at a train show. In one of my recent videos, I did a build of a house that I got for, well, I guess $2, something like that. Anyway, there was a seller there who had structure kits from some estate who was selling them for $5 each. When I went by a little bit later, he had dropped the price down to $2 each. And I picked out 2 houses and this little church kit. My wife actually pointed out the church kit. She said, you know, why don't you build a little church? So I picked it up, and the guy gave me all 3 for $5. So since those are a little bit better, I'm thinking they're $2 each, and this was $1, which actually makes sense because the original price, whenever it was sold, was 98 cents. So I'm thinking it's pretty old. I did open it up and look at it, and it has been assembled before. It's just a little really cheap in more ways than one. Snap together church kit. Somebody's done a terrible job of gluing the windows in. There's, you know, yellow glue all over the white plastic and all the rest of it. But you know what? I'm going to see what I can do with this with some proper painting and some weathering and things like that to see if I can make it look a little less cheap. So let's see what happens with this thing.